Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
If you're wearing a mask, if you're keeping your business closed, you're a coward and you're the reason we're in this mess. If everybody grew up, became adults, decided that, hey, I'm not going to follow rules just because somebody told me to. I'm going to follow rules if they actually make sense, if it's actually going to benefit myself and my family. I'm not going to follow a rule that's going to absolutely destroy my life and my family's future. You got to be absolutely ridiculous to do that.
If you depend on the government to give you a paycheck to feed your family every month because they closed your business on you, now the government doesn't work for you, the government rules you.
If you take your COVID test like a good compliant sheep and they jam that thing up your nose and pierce your blood-brain barrier with God knows what, even when you test negative, they say you still have to quarantine for 14 days, just like you did before. So what's the point of taking the test?
Yes, because I have a medical condition, so I don't need to wear one. And I'm also a Canadian citizen, and this is a violation of our Charter Rights, Section 6, and a violation of the Emergency Act 14.1. So I'm going to be declining your test today. Thank you very much.
Claim my medical exemption like everyone else. The bylaw states that you cannot deny service, you cannot ask for a condition, you cannot ask for proof of a condition. So what you're doing right now, denying these people service, is illegal.
Can you stop spitting on me, please?
I'm not spitting on you.
Thank you.
Oh, are you that scared that you got it? Okay, let me measure it for you. Is that enough?
Here's my receipt.
Anyway, there you go.
Assault. That's my receipt. That's assault. That's my receipt.
Well, I didn't assault you. I didn't do anything. I'm not trespassing. I bought a banana.
I'm here, I'm shopping, I'm doing my thing. You want to arrest me? Come and get me.
This guy is a commentator, activist, and you've seen him on Rebel News, Infowars, and of course his infamous interviews with CP24 and other mainstream media. You can follow him on Twitter at ChrisSokochia1 and Instagram at RealChrisSky, where he has 150,000 followers and climbing. Chris, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure, always.
Thanks.
How are you, man?
Thanks for coming in studio. We know this is banned right now. You can't see people face to face. It's a big problem. I want to get right into it, and something that's been going on a lot right now is the YouTube video we had, the interview I had with you from last summer, late September.
It was September 26th.
It's been going viral. It's been tweeted by UFC fighters. Now Zuby, who I understand you've done an interview with, he's a rapper of the UK. So now it's going to overseas, this video. Probably 5 million views at this point. I just wanted to set this up so everybody can see exactly what we're talking about. We can go ahead and play the first clip here, guys.
It's that simple. You don't need a mask. The mask is about compliance because they know Canadians like to do what they're told. So if they tell you have to wear a mask, next they're going to tell you have to contact trace. Then they're going to tell you have to take the vaccine. And because Canadians like to do what they're told, they're hoping that everyone just complies. And then guess what, kids? Once you take your vaccine, like a dumb person that doesn't know any better, they're going to tell you, sorry, the vaccine isn't as effective as we thought it was going to be. So now you still got to wear your mask, still got to get contact trace, still have all the restrictions and social distancing, and still take your vaccine. And then what did you get out of all of this? You got a whole year where you weren't allowed to travel, your business was closed, they took your rights and freedoms, they forced a vaccine on you, and what happened? The same amount of people died. Everything is the exact same. And now they're going to put you back on lockdown and bring it all the way till July of next year so they can do the same thing again. Bring you from July, August, and September, getting you off lockdown, but just to bring you back on lockdown again. If you idiots haven't figured it out yet, it's a perpetual cycle that you never get out of. And it's a way to take your rights, your freedoms, close your business, take your wealth. Why? So you become dependent on government. Why? If you're independent, the government works for you like it's supposed to. If you depend on the government to give you a paycheck to feed your family every month because they closed your business on you, now the government doesn't work for you, the government rules you. So instead of a middle class, we have the government, upper class, and the lower class dependents that rely on the government to survive. In other words, we have a slave class. And that's what they're trying to do. It's that simple.
So I'd say that probably has at least 5 million views in total online right now.
Well, I know for a fact, I saw it get subtitled in a whole bunch of different languages,
really?
and I got confirmation because every time somebody sees it in a different country, they tell me and they'll show me. So I've seen it in Canada, US, UK, Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, Netherlands, France, Germany, Serbia, Nicaragua. It's definitely making its rounds.
So a lot of people ask, I think both of us, about the original date, which you mentioned is September 26th.
Yes.
people always want to know how you were able to predict this stuff, because when they ask about the date, they say, no, this couldn't have been from that far behind. People want to know how you're able to predict this stuff and maybe where you're getting information from.
Ladies and gentlemen, all this stuff was planned well in advance. If you're still in denial of that fact and that didn't convince you, I'm not a psychic. I don't just pull things out of the air. The things like the vaccine passport that I warned about on our last live, and now they just admitted like yesterday that they're looking at it, that was already in the cards in 2018. I shared clips showing this, that it was intended even before COVID was a thing. And people said, oh, it's just a conspiracy theory. Now that it's coming out and they set up these nice quarantine hotels and all these travel restrictions and all these other restrictions, they're hoping that the Canadian public will jump at the chance to get vaccinated and get a little certificate that tells them, now you can have your freedom back. And really, it's not freedom, because then you're going to have to get 4 vaccines every year. Remember I told you that too, that it's a yearly annual.
We can get to a lot of the stuff that you've claimed. I wanted to show basically the stuff that, the action that, because a lot of people can say stuff. I mean, like you said, these documents are out there. There's stuff like the leaked memos that everybody says.
Of course, I saw the exact same. A lot of people saw it. There was a UN document. This is common knowledge. And it basically outlined the lockdowns, and they just gave it to each country and allowed each country to tweak it for their own people, to make it more palpable for their people, and to give the impression that it wasn't an international document disseminated to all countries to make people think that every country made up their own rules. No. The 5 levels of lockdown were in there. In a place like Ireland, they went level 1 to 5. In a place like Canada, where we like colors, now we got green to gray. It's still 5 levels of lockdown. All the 5 levels are identical. They used Australia as the model for the 5th level of lockdown, where you can't leave your house, you can't go can't literally do anything. And that's what they really want to do here.
Yeah, so what I was going to say was, a lot of people can say these things. Some of it, like you said, is predictable in the fact that it's out there. But I wanted to make focus on the fact that you actually are doing things. So the next clip I wanted to show is about the Radisson Hotel, which Rebel News has been crazily efficient at reporting at from the beginning, with your help, of places that they said these aren't government quarantine facilities, these are just hotels, they're under construction. Was I forget the famous construction worker's name there at Jake or Jeff or something, David Menzies knows him, but he said they were under construction.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to get to this clip about the guy, the very first guy, Many Lights he goes by, who you helped get out of quarantine at the Radisson Hotel. So if we can get to that clip, and then we'll talk about how that actually all came together.
No problem.
We were just out to the Radisson Hotel. We took a look around. Can you tell us what it was like staying at that Radisson Hotel, which apparently isn't really a Radisson Hotel anymore after all?
It's an odd experience. It's something that you see when you watch a movie. So straight from the airport, they tell you to get on the bus, and you don't know what type of bus. I was picturing like some kind of like maybe nice-ish bus, and when we got out the doors, you're staring at a couple school buses lined up waiting for people. So it's a yellow school bus. We get on the school bus, and it was just me and my dad at the time. And they packed up our stuff in the back and drove us straight to the Radisson. And when we got to the Radisson, there's an odd thing that happened too. When we pulled up to that same security guard that's outside, the bus driver did something like this, and the security guard did it back. It was like a signal, there's two. It was an odd experience to even witness that. So we go inside, and they drive us to the side of the building where there's this giant tent just mounted off the side of the building. Giant white tent. So we're waiting inside the bus. He says, wait a bit, because I guess they know we're coming. Maybe the security guard pages whoever is inside. And 2 people come out in full gear, like fully covered. Literally looks like a movie. I took a little clipping of that, and I was like, whoa, this is the movies. So we walk through the tent, and it's all white plastic, and we walk through a door, and we walk through the door, it's into another like tented kind of area, and it's everything's white. Like the floor is white, the sides of the building's white, and the top, And then we walked through a corridor, which would probably be the hotel before, but everything is plastered in white plastic. Like I'm telling you, like the ceiling is covered, the floor is covered, the walls are covered, everything's covered.
So shout out to DeRay, and the security guard's name is Jamie. I don't want to forget that guy, the guy who says it's under construction. So how did you first get in contact with this guy? How did that all happen?
Well, I heard about the mandatory quarantine hotels, and I knew right away it's a complete violation of our rights. And the only reason they're doing it is because they want to convince you to accept the vaccine passport. I want to stress that. Everything that they're doing, closing your business, closing your gym, forcing you to wear a mask, all the stuff they're doing is to try to convince you that it's a good idea for you to go along with this idea of a vaccine passport so they can vaccinate you multiple times a year, every year, and then use that as an excuse to prevent you from travel, work, congregating, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you think it's a conspiracy theory, they already have it in place in Israel, and they've already made it quite clear that if you don't get vaccinated, you're going to be relegated to small shops and grocery stores, and you're basically shunned from the rest of society. And that's what they want. They want a complete medical tyranny on you. So I heard about these quarantine facilities, and I didn't really know much about them except that anybody should be able to walk out of there at any time. That's the only thing I knew, because it's a violation of our rights as a Canadian citizen. So unless you've tested positive for COVID, or unless you have symptoms of COVID, they have no legal authority to keep you there. So everyone in there, I knew, is there voluntarily, whether they know it or not. They want you to think it's involuntary. They want you to scare you, tell you if you leave, you're going to get arrested, you're going to get fined, this and that. Reality, you can leave whenever you want, and there's nothing they can do but maybe give you a fake fine that will not hold up in court. So I got a message on Instagram from this girl, and she's like, my friend DeRay Many Lights is stuck in one of these quarantine places with his dad. They just came back from Jamaica. Can I give him your number? I said, sure, give him my number. I'll see if I can help him out. So he called me out of the blue, never heard of him before. We talked on the phone for a few minutes, and I told him everything I just told you. I'm like, you can walk right out of there. I go, in fact, I want everybody to know you can walk right out of there, so I'm going to call you later. We're going to do an Instagram Live. I'm going to call you an Uber, and you and your dad are going to walk out of there. And sure enough, that's exactly what we did. We did a live. I told him exactly what to say to the police. It's a violation of Section 6 of my charter rights. It's a violation of 14.1 of the Quarantine Act. And it's a violation of more rights as a Canadian citizen. And I want to leave right now. And if you lay a finger on me, I will call the police. And the police will have no choice but to come there and let you go, because the police's #1 oath is to uphold our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The people at these quarantine facilities are just private security. They're literally mall cops standing there trying to act tough. So he did exactly what we said. I called him an Uber. Him and his dad packed their stuff. They were isolated in separate rooms, by the way, because when these isolation facilities, they keep you completely separate. Even if you're with a family member you were traveling with, you're not allowed to leave the room for 14 days for any reason. No no open window, so no fresh air. They give you 3 meals a day from a U-Haul truck delivered through the Red Cross, which are not meals. And you're just supposed to sit there and take this. And now we're even supposed to pay for it on top of that. So we got him on live, told him what to say. He walked right out. They tried to threaten him and stuff on video. It was really sad watching them try to be all tough when they have absolutely no authority. And then he got in the car and he left. And sure enough, he never even got a ticket or a fine or anything from after that. So that's how we met.
So how many people would you say have come to you for this advice now? And have
Hundreds.
Hundreds? And
I put my number public. I put it on Rebel. I put it on Instagram. I put it everywhere because I want to help everybody that wants to help themselves. Because I know once I help that one person, they're going to tell a whole bunch of other people. And those other people are finally going to grow a set of balls, and they're going to stand up to this tyranny. Because it's literally all Canadians have to do is say no. And instead of saying no, Canadians are so weak-minded and so pathetic, and I will use that word, and I will say it again, pathetic, that even knowing that all they have to do is say, I'm a Canadian citizen, I don't want to take your test, and I don't want to take your quarantine, they will still just shut their mouth, line up like a sheep, wait 3 hours, let them shove something way up your nose, and then pay so they can be forcibly confined. That's even worse than slavery. Slaves are forcibly confined, but they don't pay for it. So we got people so emotionally manipulated and so disheartened, and they're so weak that they will literally pay for their own forcible confinement. It's absolute insanity when they know that all they have to do is say no.
So after a lot of this stuff happened, I'd imagine that you started getting people saying, oh, you're giving out this advice, you wouldn't do this yourself.
Ha!
So a lot of the times when this has happened with you that I've noticed, and because, I don't believe most people. I don't believe a lot of the lockdown groups. I don't like a lot of them. I've beefed with them, if you want to call it that. So you went to the airport and you showed on your Instagram yourself not getting tested, not doing quarantine, quarantined, not listening to anything they said. So I want to show that. That's one of the more viral clips of recent dates. So I want to show that one in its entirety. For anybody who hasn't seen it yet, you can go to his Instagram to see it. But let's show the full clip of you interacting with, is it customs or is it just
Customs, border security, and police.
Okay, let's play that that clip there.
Got my bags, and we're gonna go outside. We're gonna refuse their stupid test, and tell everybody to refuse their stupid test. So, yeah. Hi.
Is there a reason you don't have your mask?
Yes, because I have a medical condition, so I don't need to wear one. And I'm also a Canadian citizen, and this is a violation of our Charter Rights, Section 6, and a violation of the Emergency Act 14.1. So I'm going to be declining your test today. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. No problem. I'll happily do that. Everybody in here, if you are a Canadian citizen, simply deny the test, deny their quarantine, and there's nothing you can do. They cannot stop you. They cannot force you. You are a citizen. You have rights. If you want to wait in the line for 2 hours, let them put shit up your nose. Go right ahead. But if you have a brain and you have balls, just say no.
Let them know I have a body cam on.
That's fine. I have a camera on as well. So, yes, everybody, this is what you do. You say no to their test, no to their quarantine, and if you're a citizen or a permanent resident, there's absolutely nothing they can do but acknowledge that you have rights, and they have to respect that. Is that not true? Say it's true for the camera, everybody. Say it's true.
So you have some identification?
I do, of course. That's not a problem.
And you refuse to take the test?
I refuse to take your test 1,000,000%. No problem. And everybody in here, Canadian citizens, you can refuse the test. Just say no, don't wait in line, and there's nothing they can do. Okay, I will not yell, that's true. But I just want you guys to acknowledge for 91,000 people watching that anybody can refuse the test.
Yeah, just give me identification.
Perfect. Thank you. You guys hear that? Straight from the horse's mouth, straight from the police. Refuse the test. Ooh, I'm getting a ticket. Oh, not another one of those tickets. You know, tell everybody how many people have been convicted of those tickets in Canada. Answer? 0. How many people have been charged? Thousands. How many people convicted? 0. Why? It's a violation of our charter rights. So when that ticket goes to court, they throw it the fuck out. It's that simple. So I'm waiting for my little fine. Thanks, guys. I just want everybody to acknowledge that this is perfectly legal, perfectly acceptable. Thank you.
Do you get the feeling from these cops or the people at the Customs or Health Canada that they don't want to be doing this stuff? Or do you think that a lot of them believe that they should be forcibly confining people, for example?
Absolutely not. The vast majority of police know this is garbage. They know this is bullshit, and they didn't sign up for this. The number one oath a police officer takes is to uphold our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and everything they're asking them to do now is going against that. Those officers were not upset when I stepped out of the line. In fact, they were impressed. After we got off the film, they escorted me right to where David was waiting so we could do the Rebel interview. They shook my hand, they said, have a good night, and they left. They weren't angry with me. They respected the fact that I stood up for myself. And that's why I did that, because once again, everything they're doing to you is to make you accept this vaccine passport that's been in the works for years. It's not a brand new thing that they're just announcing now just because you saw it on TV now and you think it's new. No, for years this has been a plan. And COVID is the avenue they're using to sell it to you. So I made this video because their avenue was going to be, if you don't want to take a hotel quarantine and you don't want to have forced testing, you're going to need this vaccine passport. And I wanted to show all of Canada and the world, no, you don't need a vaccine passport. You just got to come home and say, I'm a Canadian citizen, so I'm not taking your test, I'm not doing your quarantine, and I'm going home. That way, when they come up with the idea of this vaccine passport, Canadians aren't so eager to jump to it and give away our last bastion of freedom that we have left. Once you give in to medical tyranny and you do not have bodily autonomy, and they can literally forcibly inject you with whatever they want as a pretense for you to live your life, are you free? Absolutely not. That's the most invasive violation of our rights thus far. And that's why they waited an entire year of demoralizing you and destroying your life and making you as hopeless as possible so you will not just accept it, you will beg for it. That's what they're doing. They're doing psychological warfare on you to weaken you to the point where you will not only accept defeat, you will accept perpetual defeat for the rest of your life.
Now, David Menzies, like you mentioned, was at the airport. He interviewed a lot of people who were saying that they'd rather. Why would you rather go home? Like, in my opinion, you go to the airport, even if I'm not a person who doesn't believe in this stuff, my options are get a ticket for around $890, I think it is usually, or you can pay upwards of $2,000, go and stay in a hotel room at your expense with crappy food. You can't go outside. You can't do a whole lot of things. But people there that David Menzies interviewed are still saying, no, I'm going to follow the rules and just do that. Why do you think that is?
Because Canadians are the most weakest people on planet Earth. I'm going to say it straight. If you weren't weak, we wouldn't be in this mess. I made Mothers Against Distancing, my nonprofit. Why? Because I know the fastest and best way to wake somebody up is by using their children. And a mother's bond with their child is stronger than all this propaganda they're disseminating. A mother knows their child shouldn't be in a mask 10 hours a day inside and outside at school. A mother knows the social distancing and all that is psychological trauma. So I'm seeing mothers standing up. What am I seeing from men? I'm seeing men shun me. I'm seeing men say, put on a mask. I'm seeing men put masks on their families. You know what you guys are? You're losers. If you're a man and you put a mask on your wife and children, you are a loser. Look at yourself in the mirror and repeat after me. I am a loser. I do not mince words. I'm not here to coddle you, impress you. Canadians have been coddled enough. That's why we're in this mess. I had 41-year-old Canadian man call his mommy to call me because he was going to be crossing the border and he was scared. I talked to this guy's mother on the phone. I tell everybody, if you have a problem, call me. People call me 24 hours a day. Someone lands at the airport at 3:30 in the morning. I hear my phone ringing. I already know what it is, so I'll pick it up and I'll help them and make sure that they don't get detained and make sure they get through. So I have this lady call me, and I swear to God, I thought she was talking about like a 12 or 13-year-old boy that was on vacation for like a school trip or something. And then I asked her just out of the blue, I'm like, so how old is your son, by the way? 41. This is the state of men in Canada. This is why we're in this mess. People keep saying, oh, I'm the reason that this is prolonging. No. The more you comply, if you haven't noticed, every time you comply, they move the goalposts and they make you comply with something else. If you didn't comply with that, they couldn't go to the next phase. In fact, it starts going the other way and things get open and you get your freedom back. If everybody just took off their mask tomorrow, what could they do? Fine all of Canada with a fake fine that's not going to show up in court anyway? If everybody opened their business tomorrow, what are they going to do? Send everything they got to all the businesses? It took them all their resources to shut down one business, and it took them 3 days with Adam Skelly's barbecue. So what are they going to do if Canadians just stand up and say no? Absolutely nothing. But what are Canadians doing? Canadian men in particular, they're walking around on their knees, wearing 2 masks, telling everybody that compliance is a virtue. Why? Because they're cowards. It's that simple. If you're wearing a mask, if you're keeping your business closed, you're a coward, and you're the reason we're in this mess. If everybody grew up, became adults, decided that, hey, I'm not going to follow rules just because somebody told me to. I'm going to follow rules if they actually make sense, if it's actually going to benefit myself and my family. I'm not going to follow a rule that's going to absolutely destroy my life and my family's future. You got to be absolutely ridiculous to do that. They're following it because they're scared and they're making excuses. You know what Canadians are the best in the world at doing? Making excuses for not standing up for themselves because they're really afraid. That's what this comes down to, fear. And people are afraid because they watch their TV. I tell everybody, turn off your TV. You won't be depressed anymore. You won't be afraid anymore. You don't see people dying all around you until you turn on TV. They're telling you everyone's dying, you're going to die, wear your mask, listen to public health, or you're dead. That's basically what the message is. So until people understand, until we can change their perception that, number one, this is not about your health and safety. This is about complete control and dominance of your life for forever, then once they change their perception, the propaganda stops working. Or if people just stop watching TV, their entire outlook would change. But they'll never do that because people are addicted to TV like they're addicted to drug. The TV tells them what to think, who to like, who to hate, how to dress, what to eat, and apparently exactly how to live.
I do run into that with some people I know. Call them up and they've been watching too much TV. That's something I can definitely get behind. The TV told me so is a line I use a lot. Now, something you did with masklessness was the maskless shopping, and that's another example of you wanting to set the example for other people to follow, putting your what's the phrase here? Putting your money where your mouth is, essentially. So I want to show the clip of when you were inside. I believe it was Whole Foods, and there was a manager there who really got offended.
I think you're going to play the clip from Longo's, actually. If it's little skinny Daniel and his glasses, yeah.
Yeah, can we play that clip? I think it is Longo's.
So, Chris, what's going on here?
The cops are trying to illegally tell everybody to leave. I told them, which is their requirement by law, to contact the bylaw municipal enforcement, who actually has the authority. Those police officers do not have any authority under these bylaws. So that's why I said, call the bylaw officer, bring them here, and the bylaw officer will have to explain to them that under the municipal bylaw that was passed by our government, they cannot deny us service, they cannot ask us for proof of our condition, and they cannot ask us what our condition is. And they definitely cannot ask us to leave the store without serving us. And that's why those cops came here, tried to be all tough, and then just walked away.
And Chris, I mean, the law aside, why wouldn't Whole Foods just ring up your orders? You would have been gone by now.
Because people like Jeff Bezos and Amazon and our government have a vested interest in keeping this pandemic going.
Okay, so that was Whole Foods.
Yeah, that was the Whole Foods clip.
Yeah,
Yes. So we went into Shoppers Drug Mart, we went into Longo's, we went to Whole Foods at Bloor and Yonge. Why do we do this? Because everybody has the right to a medical exemption when they shop. Mask mandates should not even be a thing. 16 of the U.S. states no longer have mask mandates. They do not have higher case rates than anybody else. North Dakota went even a step further and passed a law making mask mandates illegal. Imagine that. Here in Canada, you're told that you're a psychopath, a grandma killer, anti-science if you don't want to wear a mask, while other countries are passing laws to make mask wearing illegal. So that's how brainwashed Canadians are and how manipulated via their emotions. So why do we do this massive shopping? It's just another way to end this tyranny. If everybody did what we just did that day, and even had groups of 20 or 30 people, and every other day they went to a different store, let them call the cops. You're not trespassing. You're shopping like a normal person. You're not in violation of a bylaw or the law. So what? You're making them uncomfortable? They should be uncomfortable. Everyone that's stuck around wearing a mask is uncomfortable. So if you go into a store with 20, 30 people and all the other people see these mask-free shoppers and you just walk around like a normal person, do your shopping and leave, guess what? Next time you walk into that store, you'll see more people without a mask and more people without a mask. And once the mask mandate is crushed and masks become a recommendation instead of a mandate, this is all over because 90% of the people will choose not to wear them. And that's why they're pushing, once again, this vaccine passport. They're telling you now, if you get the vaccine and you're with other fully vaccinated people, you will no longer have to wear the mask, but only if you're with other fully vaccinated people.
Which is an answer they've changed on already
exactly.
a couple times.
And they even talk about the masks in the gym. They say that they're following public health advice to make you wear a mask in the gym, which it doesn't take a genius. It takes common sense to realize that exercising while wearing a mask is not good for you. You're getting sweat. You're getting bacteria, you're touching all this equipment and then touching the mask. Mm-hmm. It's literally like a petri dish on your face while you're huffing and puffing, struggling to catch your breath as it is. It's absolutely ridiculous. And if you go to the WHO website, they have an entire page dedicated to how you're not supposed to wear a mask while exercising, and even an instructional video showing people this. Meanwhile, when you go to any gym, they tell you they're following the House of Public Health officials. Who?
Yeah, even when this first started a year ago, when the gyms were still open, they said you don't have to wear a mask when you're working out. A lot of people did. I noticed a difference. It was funny. I noticed a difference in locations of how many people would not wear masks. I would go to one location, everybody would stare at me. I'd go to another location, I'd feel like people would see me not wearing a mask and have the confidence to not wear one. But then, of course, gyms were closed down, and I'm now the monster you see before you. I wanted to talk about, we get a lot of emails, I get a lot of emails of people getting shunned from especially grocery stores, I've noticed, for not wearing masks. And we've got Jimmy or Sally or Billy who works at the grocery store saying, no, no mask exemptions at all. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's smart of the organizations themselves to set themselves up for human rights complaints like this?
It's public. It's pressure from the government. It's that simple. The government wants compliance. That's all they want. They want you to comply with the mask because the masks are the basis of all the other restrictions. If they can get everyone wearing the mask, number one, it perpetuates the idea that there's something to be afraid of. Number two, it shows your submission, it shows your compliance, and it literally muzzles your voice. Number three, it tells everybody that it tries to tell everybody you're doing your part. So they use a guilt trip on you to make you wear it. But there's no real science behind mask wearing.
So you want to, the most troubling part, you mentioned getting through to mothers and their kids, and that's another thing that I see a lot of, is people saying their child has developed this rash or whatever. Of course, psychologically, it clearly, putting something over a kid's mouth clearly has a psychological effect on them, no matter if you want to get into the science behind it or not.
They bully the crap out of the kids that are exempted.
You want a good example is somebody who works here's younger sister got bullied on the subway for not wearing a mask.
Forget that. I'm talking about at schools. Yeah. I know a 4-year-old child who got an exemption, a little girl, and the teachers are in on this, and the other parents are in on this, and the school actually supports this to try to get compliance back. They told this little girl she could come to school without a mask. Then when she went to school without a mask, they literally told all the other kids to stay away from her, including her friends. So this little girl was so traumatized, she came home crying to her parents, begging them to allow her to wear the mask so her friends would talk to her. And that's the type of coercion we're up against. But they're not just doing it to children, they're doing it to every segment of society.
Do you want to look in the camera and tell the parents who I would hope, and I know my siblings have a lot of kids, they don't want their kids wearing masks. I would hope that I wouldn't tell my kid to wear a mask. You want to tell the parents how and why they shouldn't be doing that?
Ladies and gentlemen, your child at school is trying to learn. They're trying to develop mentally and physically. Putting a mask on their face and putting them through social distancing, standing on little dots, waiting their turn, single file, one side of the hallway, one desk, no recess, sitting in little sections, all that stuff is psychological and physiological trauma on a grand scale, and it's over a prolonged period in an academic setting where they're supposed to be learning. So they come into school with this mindset to learn knowledge, learn life skills, and all they're learning is to be afraid, and all they're learning is to follow orders, and all they're learning is to wear this mask 24/7. They're literally making children wear the mask inside, outside, and some schools make them wear it while they eat, pull it down between bites and eat it. And if they want to be able to breathe, they give them a little punch card, and every time you do a good deed or a favor for the school, they cross one check off. And after you've done a certain amount of good deeds, you can get a 5-minute mask break. You're literally allowing them to abuse your children to the point where they have to do work for air. And you think this is not bad for your children? You think this is not going to have a lasting psychological and physiological impact? You think that wearing a mask for 10 hours a day doesn't block the type of oxygen required to their little tiny brains that are still developing? You parents should be ashamed of yourselves. You can tell yourself any excuse you want. Look me in the eye and tell me that you're not harming your children. You know you are. So if you're not actively fighting for your children to be mask-free in school, if you're not going with other parents in your school, working together and demanding that your child's rights be restored and they follow the law, which is allowing mask exemptions in school regardless of their so-called school policy, you are not a parent. You are an enabler, and you are sacrificing your child's innocence, you are sacrificing their well-being, and you are sacrificing their future. You are killing their potential, and you are bringing a child that could have come up here, and you're making sure that they'll never get past here in society. And you're breeding an entire generation of completely terrified, compliant, unthinking drones that won't even be able to walk through a doorway unless there's a dot on both sides and someone to tell them when it's safe. And that's an absolute travesty that can destroy this entire country even worse than the economic collapse we've already experienced. So parents, it's time to wake up. Parents, look in the mirror. It's time to stand up for your children. There's no more excuses. 2 weeks has been 52 weeks, and they have no plans to take the mask off your kids. They have no plans to remove these restrictions. So, what are you going to do?
I just wanted to get some of that out there because I don't think enough people are talking about that. I want to give a shout out, of course, to fightthefines.com for the tons, almost 1,000 people I believe we've helped now with that. So you can go to fightthefines.com. If you do get what you call a stupid little green slip, I would agree with what it is because it's, I just don't like it.
I want to give someone little stats. If you look, they'll talk about in mainstream media, they'll tell you in Ontario, 90% of those that they've given out, and there's tens of thousands, are unresolved. So how did they resolve the other 10%? Some idiots are idiots and just paid the fine without trying to fight it or without trying to do their option. But the vast majority of people that said they wanted to fight it would get something in the mail from the government called an early resolution. So they basically tell you to plead guilty to the fine, and instead of paying $880, you'll pay like $75. So a lot of people rather just pay that $75 than go to court. So that's the only way you will pay these tickets. If you're either too stupid and just pay it, or you say you want to fight it and they give you an early resolution and you decide to plead guilty just for the non-hassle of it. But if you get a fine, no matter what it says, it could say $1 gazillion on it. If you fight in court, you will win, period.
FightTheFines.com, and you can go to rebelnewsplus.com to see the rest of this interview. We're going behind the safety of the paywall where we don't need warnings. You can go there and subscribe for just $8 a month. You can watch the rest of Andrew, which I know you love to do, rebelnewsplus.com. What are we going to talk about, Chris? Well, let me tell you, your battle with the courts. We're going to talk about, will you be returning to any of the protests anytime soon? We're going to ask you that. And of course, we're going to get some workout and fitness tips from Chris Sky. So rebelnewsplus.com, everybody. Thank you for watching Andrew Says. If you want to see the full uncut version, go to rebelnewsplus.com and sign up today so you can see the entire episode where we talk about topics we can't show you on YouTube. They'll ban us.